All right. Well, welcome to the D-Brand Makeover Social Media Marketing 101 webinar, one of many that we have produced or will be producing in the days to come. Thank you for taking the time. I want to quickly introduce Travis and myself to today's presentation. We see people popping in on the webinar as we speak, so we won't waste too much time in getting started. Real quickly, my experience goes back to 25 years with a company you may be familiar with, Chuck E. Cheese. There I held several different positions in marketing, recruiting, training, all of those, or many of those, in the executive levels. And of course, my partner Travis Matheny, who has lots of experience in small business management, marketing. He sits on the board of many different nonprofit organizations. So between the two of us and our team, we believe we have the solutions to help you with your social media marketing and get you the results that you need. So without further ado, we'll get started into the presentation. Welcome to Social Media Marketing 101.
Thanks, Todd. Let's get started. And again, welcome everyone. My name is Travis Matheny, and I'm just excited to be here. I'm also one of the founding partners of D-Brand Makeover, and you guys are in great hands today with Todd as he introduced himself, and we're just excited to be able to spend some time with you. And probably if you haven't done, or maybe you have done social media marketing for yourself, as a small business or mid-sized company, maybe you've done it for yourself, or maybe you've hired someone to do it for you. But you know, as I introduce people and tell them a little bit about what I do with D-Brand Makeover, you know, I get lots of questions about why social media, or what is social media, or should I be doing social media? And really, we want to tackle that question first, because social media, you hear statements like social media is a powerful marketing tool. You hear those types of statements all the time, and you think to yourself, why? Why is social media so incredible? And that's what we want to take a moment and talk to you about. And I want to introduce to you a concept called the 0 moment of truth. And basically, this is a concept that was initiated actually several decades ago by a joint research project with Neiman Marcus and a couple of colleges, where they went in and tried to determine why it is people say yes to products. And so they started to discover what was called a first moment of truth and a second moment of truth. And the first moment of truth really came when someone was in a store. And so right there in that store, you know, they had to make a decision about what it is they wanted to purchase. And then maybe, you know, they had to look at colors, they had to look at prices, but somehow there was a stimulus. And so, you know, for my dad, it was like, you know, I was mowing the yard, and I came in and told him the lawnmower was broken, and that was my dad's stimulus to go buy a new mower. Or maybe he saw a commercial on the television, and that was his stimulus. But there was some stimulus that got him into the store looking at lawnmowers, and he looked at the color, he looked at the price, he looked at all sorts of things, and he talked to a salesman. The role of the salesman is a lot different than it was back then. Back then, the role of the salesman was very important, because probably when my dad walked into the store, he didn't have a lot of information at that time. Most of the information, if not all the information that he was going to use to make a buying decision was happening at the first moment of truth, was happening in the store, standing in front of the mowers, making choices. And he made his first moment of the truth, and he bought a lawnmower. Then the second moment of truth came later, when he took it home and maybe he had to assemble it. Was that assembly easy or not? And then he had to mow the yard with it. Or in his case, I had to mow the yard with it. And then when I got done, he'd say, well, how was it? But the second moment of truth came when he actually used the product enough to form an opinion. But the thing is that opinion didn't really travel very far. Basically, for the most part, maybe it traveled just to him. Whenever he had to buy a mower again, he would remember if his last mower worked well or not. Or maybe he would tell a friend or two about it. But now things have really changed. And so they went back and looked at the study again to see, are things the same? And if not, what's going on? And they discovered that there's now a 0 moment of truth. So take the journey with you for a minute. I say my lawnmower breaks down, and I've got to go buy a new lawnmower. The first moment of truth is still the store when I go in to make a purchase, but now there's something new, and it's called the 0 moment of truth. And that means I'm going to go online, and I'm going to start doing my research. I'm going to start finding out what kind of mowers there are, what the price range is, what kind of features they have, what kind of reviews they have. Are they well reviewed or poorly reviewed? In fact, I can even go online to Home Depot right now, and I can see if the lawnmower that I want is in stock. and how much I'll have to pay for it. In fact, a lot of times by the time I reach the first moment of truth, I already know what I'm going to buy. I already know how much I'm going to pay for it. I already know all the features, and it's sitting at the front of the store because I put it in my basket before I left my house. That is different. That's called the zero moment of truth, and it's changing the way that people shop. And so we have to maximize this zero moment of truth. Let me take you through a couple of numbers. First is the number 86%. Now we know this for a fact based on recent studies that 86% of purchases, not just online purchases, any purchases, 86% of people before they make a buying decision, that's a product, that's a service, that's online, that's in-store, 100% of the people making any type of buying decision, 86% of them are going to make a decision by stuff they find online. That's in social media, that's on your website, that's on reviews, but they're going to go online. Even if they're not purchasing online, 86% of them are going to go online. Now, why is that so amazing? Is because 1 in 3 small businesses have a website. You heard me, have a website, much less using social media in their marketing. And so we actually are still sitting at the beginning of a huge wave that's getting ready to crash, and we want you to be a part of it. And so now that you know this, and now that you're armed with this, let's take a look at something that's happening that's a little bit different. And you can see how companies are taking advantage of this. For example, Century 21, what they did is in 2009, they moved all of their TV and advertising budget online. In 2009, all of their TV money went online. And here's what they found. In 1 year, they doubled their leads and halved their cost. Now that's crazy. They doubled their leads and halved their cost. Now probably we're not talking in this webinar to the chief marketing executive of a company the size of Century 21. And so this is really powerful for you because we're not talking about a big business that has the money to advertise on TV. We're talking mostly about small and mid-sized companies who don't have the money to advertise on TV. So this is good news for you. What this says is it's not even as valuable for you to advertise on TV. And so now the playing field has been big time leveled. You don't have to be able to afford to advertise on television. You don't have to afford to advertise on radio. In fact, you really don't have to afford a lot. You can spend a little bit of money in the right places and get big time results. So let's look at that stat for a minute. In 1 year, they doubled their leads and halved their costs. This is what we called quantitative ROI. And what this means is we got hard numbers that tell us whether or not things are working. Now, Todd and I and the whole team at dBrand Makeover, we love quantitative ROI. And what that means is we are actually getting hard feedback. In fact, I would tell you, before you ever hire anyone to do any type of social media marketing or online branding or someone who's going to tell you we're going to use the web to get you sales, you need to ask them, show me the numbers. You need to see what their plan is. You need to see the numbers before they start, after they start, while they start, and that's one of the things that we do. And that's a huge thing for, especially if you're not the boss of the company, your boss is going to know what is the ROI. What do the numbers do? How much is this going to cost? And what is it going to get us? That's one of the things that we do. But what's interesting is that social media is not all about quantitative ROI. It's also about qualitative ROI, and that means the quality of what you do, and a lot of it has to do with the impressions. And so you can communicate with your potential customers, you can connect with your potential customers, and you can call to act. Now, a lot of times we just look at that call to act and say, well, that's the only thing we care about. But think about this for a minute. How many times have you made a buying decision, not at the moment of truth, but later on down the road, just because of perception you had of the company, or because you engaged in a conversation, you said, hey, whenever I do need that, I'm going to remember these guys. And that's where qualitative comes in big time. And you want to be known as the brand in your niche. You want to be known as the go-to company or for the service or for the product that you are selling. And so that is wildly important to remember that, yes, the quantitative numbers are important. We're going to help you find what those are. But the qualitative can't be dismissed. And let me show you why. One of my favorite authors and bloggers, his name is Bob Burg. And he has a quote that I absolutely love. It says, all things being equal, People do business with those they know, like, and trust. And you know what? I don't have to explain this very long because you know it's true. I know it's true. It's absolutely right. When you feel like you know someone, when you feel like you like someone, when you feel like you trust someone, don't you want to give business to them? Of course. And in fact, if you're in business, that's kind of your quest. You're out to gain new clients, and the way you do that is develop relationship with them. And this is what's amazing about social media, and some of the reason why a company like Century 21 would change over all their marketing to online and social media is because they can actually have a conversation with their clients. You see, when you throw up a TV ad, all you're doing is saying, this is our brand, this is our brand, this is our brand. But when you start engaging people with social media, and it's not that hard to do, you begin an effective two-way conversation that begins a know, like, and trust relationship before they ever walk into the store. That's the zero moment of truth at work. See, they're beginning to form an opinion about you whether you like it or not. And that's the thing that people have to understand. When we talk about why on social media, people right now are forming an opinion about you with or without your permission. They're having conversations about you right now, whether you know it or not. So you can ignore it, or you can pretend like it doesn't exist, or you can say, oh, it's not powerful, it's a fad. I promise you it's not. People are talking about you, and that qualitative ROI is very important. Okay, so we talked about the why a little bit, and trust me, we're not done talking about the why. But let's talk about the what for a minute. What is social media? Because we're talking about social media marketing, and that's very, very important. So I'm going to show you something here in just a second, and this is really everything you'll ever need to know about social media marketing. Are you ready? Here we go. That's it. That's all you'll ever need to know. Now, of course, I'm kidding because that looks so complicated, and it's a huge web, and it's good to go. But that's of course looks complicated. I think that's all the times what people's perception is this massively complicated, interconnected thing that I'll never be able to figure out. But we're going to boil down to you something much, much easier. Here's basically what social media is. Any online media that allows the creator and user to interact in real time. So if we're talking about real-time feedback, real-time conversation, real-time two-way information. And so when you think about things like Facebook, when we think about things like Twitter, YouTube, or blogging, that's exactly what we're talking about. It's media that allows interaction in real time. That's what social media is, and so for the rest of our time together, that's really what we're going to spend time talking about. And really, the reason why that's so important is because of the F word, as I like to call it, which is feedback. Feedback is one of those things that if you're a business owner, sometimes you get nervous stomach thinking about the F word because you're wanting to know, you're not wanting to know sometimes where your bad spots are. In fact, let me show you this little cartoon that's pretty funny. This little guy in the boardroom, and he's talking about this product, and it says, "It turns out people aren't buying our product because it's stupid." And that's one of the ones that make me laugh. But sometimes we don't want feedback because we're afraid of what it's going to say. In reality, feedback is probably one of the most important things we can possibly want. And if people are talking about us online, most of the time they're not doing it just because they want to be mean. They're doing it, and they're doing it in a way that if we will listen to it and we'll make adjustments, we can actually really maximize what's going on. So Todd, that's kind of the basis. I wanted to lay a little bit of foundation. But I want you to tell us a little bit about feedback, which you just talked about, and how it relates to social media.
Well, that's a great intro. It's funny, that whole zero moment of truth is so powerful. If you can grasp that is just what's happening. And Travis, you mentioned the online zero moment of truth, but you know what? With mobile devices these days, a lot of that's happening in the parking lot. It's happening as you drive by. And before you even go to Home Depot, that's what they're doing. I know I do it all the time. Mm-hmm. So the feedback in social media, equals trusted advice. The Gallup Survey, which you're probably familiar with, talks about 14% of the people trust what you say about yourself online. Well, okay, that makes sense. I mean, they're going to trust you because they're going to trust you really because of what you say about your company. The most startling fact to me is a 78% trust what someone else says about you online. That's the powerful one. I mean, if I go to a Starbucks, for example, of course they're going to make their signs look pretty and their restaurants look pretty and their online commercials look pretty. But if Travis goes there and posts something online media, that says, hey, you know what, Susie behind the counter, she really took care of me today. I'm probably going to go there because of that before I go there because of a commercial. Isn't that right?
Yeah, that's right. And then it doesn't even matter if you know the person.
Yeah,
that's the thing is
it could be Bob.
You don't, people have lost trust in websites.
Absolutely.
You go on someone's website and they say amazing things about themselves because what else are they going to say? They're not going to say, well, we really aren't good at this. You probably shouldn't use us.
Sure.
But reviews,
sure,
they're honest.
Yeah, I mean, you still want to have a know, like, and trust video or something like that. And we'll talk about that in other webinars to come. But you get the idea.
Sure.
So let's look at a sushi place that's really close to Travis and I. We both visit there frequently. This is posted online. It says, I love the sushi, and after checking out a few of the top-rated sushi places in the Fort Worth area, Wild Sushi is the best. You know, that's probably a place that I'm going to go to. Versus another post that may have been online. On the drive back to work, I had time to contemplate my dining experience and decided that this place I would not return to unless threatened with death or maiming. Now, of course, that's not the same sushi place. It's a different sushi place, and you got to ask yourself, which one of these places are you going to go to? The answer is obvious. Here's another one. These people made excuses for days before they finally admitted that they lost the keys to my house that we bought. Phone calls and emails were not returned. This has been one of the most frustrating experiences in my life. Again, that's powerful information online. And the last one here. John was one of the nicest, friendliest, easiest people I've ever had the pleasure of working with. His knowledge of the local market and real estate in general made our home buying process go exceptionally smooth. Now that is tried and true. It's the facts right there in front of you on your mobile phone, on the internet. People are telling you about their businesses.
Well, it's self-obvious because we've all done it. We've all gone across reviews. We've all gone across Facebook. We've all gone across some type of social media. We've gotten a good or bad review that's affected our buying decision. And what people don't really realize is that as a small business, you can actually be in charge of that. You can actually engage it, and you can actually affect it.
Great. So here we go. So now, what's the plan? Well, at D-Brand Makeover, we put all of our plans through a pretty rigorous test. We're not just going to create a plan that sounds good. It's going to be a plan that has some ROI behind it, because isn't that what you want? Of course. Return on investment on what you're going to spend your money for is the important part. So I would tell you that perhaps doing nothing is better than doing something when you have no idea what you're doing. So we're going to walk through the plan and what that looks like, what it feels like. But honestly, we have a lot of people that come to us and say, well, we're in social media. Yeah, we're doing it. I got a Twitter account and a Facebook account. Well, what have you done lately with it? And how fresh is it? You know, I'm here to tell you, and Travis, you can probably chime right in. I mean, that's something that is dangerous, because if you're not updating your Facebook or updating the Twitter feeds, and it's been since January of last year, it's pretty dangerous.
Well, and Todd, you and I were on a consulting call just last week talking to a very large client, and we were talking to them about what their goals were, and they were hitting us up with that. And we were asking them, well, are you guys using Twitter? Because it sounded like Twitter was a great solution for them. And they said, oh, well, no, we're not celebrities, and only people who want to follow celebrities use Twitter. Well, that's not true. They started a Twitter account, and maybe it worked, and maybe it didn't. At the end of the day, we know exactly what we're doing on Twitter. In fact, last week I had 3 phone calls from leads for our business just from what I was doing on Twitter. And so just because you have a Twitter account, just because you have a Facebook account, it doesn't mean that you are implementing a strategy to gain business, to really make appointments, to talk to people you have never talked to before. And we're doing that, and we're not doing it by the seat of our pants. We're following plans.
Yeah, and that's exactly, so it takes a strategy, a well thought out strategy, and here we go. So it's real simple. There's 4 steps for us that we'll walk you through. One is the objective. You got to have a plan of what you're going to do. The participants, the content, obviously, and then, you know, like Travis showed you that picture of all the social media vehicles out there. There are many vehicles, and we boiled them down to the ones that we believe are the most crucial ones to be involved in. So the first one is the objective. This is good. I mean, turning strangers. What if you could turn strangers into friends, turn those friends into disciples, and then turn those disciples into evangelists to basically sell your product back to the strangers and the friends, and the cycle keeps on going over and over and over again.
Yeah, that's right, and that's exactly what I was talking about Whether it's been LinkedIn for Todd's had conversations with perfect strangers who've turned into paying clients by using LinkedIn in a strategic way. I've had conversations with perfect strangers on Twitter that's turned into paying business. We've actually used these things for our own business as well as helping our clients do them. And so it actually is possible to move people up the line, which you're going to see in a minute when we get to the participants, but it's actually possible to move people up this line from strangers to friends, friends to disciples, disciples to evangelists. And we're seeing, second and third generation people who found us through Twitter, who found someone else, who found someone else. And so it's actually working and happening that way.
So yeah, could you have evangelists speaking for your business? Absolutely. Travis, let's talk about the participants next.
Sure. Let's talk about where it starts, and it really starts with us. It starts with the creator. And so when we talk about the participants, we're talking about who is creating the initial thing, who's creating the Facebook page, who's creating the Twitter profile, and then also who's creating content on those things. And we're going to talk about content in a minute, and content is wildly important. But a lot of times you can even have more than one creator. We have guest bloggers, or we have people who are part of our company who post on our behalf. But there's someone who sort of gets the ball started, and it's much easier to get the ball started and get something going that's positive than having to constantly react to something that's negative. So then we're going to move them, and create this thing next after creator, which is influencer. Now this is sort of your evangelist level. Like we talked about, we're going to turn strangers into friends, friends into disciples, disciples into evangelists. This is the evangelist. This is someone who maybe they work for your company, or maybe they're a first level raving fan of your product or your service, or a client you've had for a long time. But these are people, when you post content to social media, to your website, to Twitter, you name it, they respond to it, they like it, they one-up it, they comment on it, they post something about it. And this is so important, because every social media that we're going to talk about here in a few minutes, from Facebook to YouTube to Google, all of those things, the rankings of those things, they love having conversation, having engagement. So the more people that are talking with you and engaging in conversation, the more other people are going to find you. And that's actually really important. So after the influencer comes the adopter. So we're talking about turning strangers into friends, and friends to disciples. This is kind of the disciple. So this is the one who they're starting to use your product, they're starting to talk to you, they're starting to deal with you a little bit, and they're adopting what's going on, and you're bringing them into the fold. Then after that is the spectator, and then finally is the stranger. And so what we have here is, you see from bottom to top, we want to move people up from stranger to spectator to adopter to influencer. And that means engaging them somehow. Well, how do we engage them? How do we begin that engagement process? Well, that comes through content. See, as we begin to produce content, we've talked to clients who say, oh yeah, well, Facebook doesn't work for us. We have a Facebook page, we've had it for years, and we have 82 friends, 82 likes. And so we go on there, and true enough, they have 82 likes, and the last post was 6 months ago or something. Well, they're not engaging strangers. What they don't realize is, if they would begin to use Facebook in such a way that it creates engagement, they would begin to actually come across the feeds of total strangers who would potentially turn into friends and get on down the way. So the first thing when we talk about content is, it has to be compelling. That is very important, because if you really want to know what is online and social media, I'll tell you what's exactly on social media: a bunch of boring stuff. I mean, really, it's really pretty dry. And the ones who go after compelling content are the ones who win. Let me show you a perfect example of that. If you go to no.com, it's n plus 14 zeros.com. It's fantastic. You'll see this picture of Darth Vader, and then there's a blue button that says press in dire situations. And when you press that blue button, you hear no! And it's really funny, especially if you know what Star Wars are. And you're saying to me, what in the world does this have to do with social media or with compelling content? Well, I'll tell you that had 250,000 hits in the first week, and is well over 2 million hits after, I think, 2 months. All of that with a little link to the marketing site that created it, and they drove huge business to themselves just by creating something that was simple, easy, and compelling. You don't have to reinvent the wheel here. You just have to do some things that are compelling. So let me give you a couple of hints about compelling. The first one is a little word called professional, and it's kind of part professional and part personal. And that is really important because people, especially if you're working a business site, they don't want to know just about the most cold, stale stuff of professional. Now, depending on what kind of business you are, sure. But there needs to be a blend. Now, Facebook's a little bit different in that you have a personal page and you have a business page. But when you get to things like blogging, when you get to things like Twitter, when you get to things like Google Plus, some of these other ones, you need to be professional. You need to talk about what's going on in your life, the things that you are going on with. I remember, we've been in business for a while now. And I remember back in the early days of business, Todd and I are both involved with nonprofits, and so I would be gone. I'd be out for a week or something doing work for a nonprofit, and we were like, should we not tell people, or should we tell people I'm booked somewhere and kind of keep it mysterious? And nowadays, that's really not at all what we want to do. If I'm doing work for a nonprofit, we just tell people I'm out for a week doing work for a nonprofit. We'll have to wait until I get back to do it. And people actually respond to that and like it because they feel like they're working with someone who they know, like, and trust. So that's huge. So after compelling comes the 90-10 rule. And this is basically a rule that is broken 90% of the time, if we're talking about 90% and 10%. And basically the 90-10 rule is that 90% of the time you should be doing something that is good for, gives back, or interesting to your end user. And then 10% of the time you should ask for the sale or challenge them or do something. So let me show you a few examples. Give 90% of the time, 10, ask. Be encouraging 90% of the time, challenge 10%. Be safe 90% of the time, be controversial 10%. And so a lot of people, they have 3 Facebook or 3 tweets or one blog after another who it talks about, here's our service, here's what we do, here's how much it costs, here's our packages, you should use this, you should use this, you should use this, and they wonder why they're not getting any engagement. It's because people, this is social media. Think about that, that word social. The word social means that they want to engage in something that's interesting to them. All right, so unless you're going to put out a paper in your office that says that every employee has to interact with our ridiculous posts, you're not going to get much engagement. And so 90% of the time, give them interesting things about what's going on. So what we want to do, Todd, tell us just a few things that they can do to engage that 90% that maybe they're not thinking of.
Well, I would just basically call that the top 10 list. Simply enough, there's things that you can do to really help your content out there. The first is ask opinions. Just a real simple thing like, Facebook or Google Plus. Question mark on anything will get some kind of response. Humor is always a great medicine. So use some humor out there. Retweet, post some humorous things that aren't too controversial, but use some humor in your content. Real-time knowledge, that would be the real thing of what's happening today. Today, real-time information. Educate. Nothing wrong with giving away free education. They can get it anyway. They will on Google, so might as well help them. Let them connect with you what your content expertise is. Then respond. You can respond, and you should, to things that are going on out there and answer those same questions. Be part of the things that we're listed on this list. Of course, give media and links. You come across a neat little tool, why not share it with somebody? It's not going to cost you any business. People like the fact that you're giving away some content. Of course, telling stories is just powerful. Like we've already told several stories in this webinar, and that's a good part of our sales approach is telling stories because people connect with stories and helps you develop that whole know, like, and trust mentality. Of course, inform them of what's happening with your company, like Travis has already spoken about, what you're doing, what's going on. Keep them up to date. Tips and how-tos, how to do anything. A simple how to resize a photo or whatever your business may happen to be. There's simple tips that you can do that, there's all kinds of shortcuts. I don't know if you're on a Mac or a PC, but boy, there's a million different shortcuts on the Mac. When I come across something that's simple and silly to me, it can save other people just tons and tons of times. And then, of course, the one that we're using here, just a simple top 10 list. Do a top 10 list that kind of runs throughout the day, runs throughout the week, whatever it may be, just to kind of keep it top 10.
Yeah, and a couple that stand out to me, Todd. The educate one is huge. Don't be afraid, like Todd said, to give away stuff. Sometimes we get so afraid that we're going to give away the barn or we're going to give away our secret sauce recipe. In reality, you could give away your secret sauce recipe and they still can't make it the way you could make it. And they're still going to come back and have you do it. And a lot of times your secret sauce isn't so great. It's just that you're cooking and somebody else isn't. So a lot of times, don't be afraid to educate. Don't be afraid to give away tips and tricks, and don't be afraid to give away. And the other one that really stands out to me is tell stories. It's true that facts tell and stories sell. If you begin to tell interesting stories, especially testimonials from clients and customers, post testimonials a lot to your website, either in video form, which is definitely 100% the best way to do it, or in written form. So definitely do those things. So perfect. Thank you, Todd, for doing that. And then the last one, I would say, we talked about compelling, the 90-10 rule, the top 10. I would say the ABCs, and we call those always be cautious. And basically that means that people have been fired over things they've said on social media. So be careful with what you say out there, especially if you're treading into controversial or religious, or if you start to make opinions, they might be yours personally, but you're gonna get credit for those things if they're not right. So all right, now let's get to where we've all been waiting for, and that's talking about the vehicles. So what are some of the things, and like Todd kind of referred to going back, is there's more vehicles than Todd and I could name off the top of our heads. That's how much stuff is out there right now.
There's got to be at least 2,000.
Yeah, that's probably true. And it is crazy how much stuff is out there. And the problem with there being so much stuff out there is that there's actually very few that there's workable, good strategies that have been proven. And that's the key word, proven, to bring in business. Why go and work on something that may or may not work when you could be working on something that's already been proven? And that's where we hope that you'll trust a company like ours to bring you the new things as they become proven. And I can tell you right now, there's more business that you're not going after off the vehicles that we're going to name here. There's more business that you can maximize and hit off the vehicles we name here. You'll never have to worry about some of these other ones for a very, very long time. So I'm an avid cyclist and I get out quite a bit. I want to show you a picture that is one of my favorite places to drive by. It's called Dos Amigos Pull and Save here in Fort Worth. And I'm going to show you exactly why I think it's so interesting. And you'll see the picture of the place up there. And then right out in front, they have this amazing, very nice covered patio. All these nice picnic tables and covered. And I mean, it just does not fit at all. I mean, it's a pretty rough looking place except for this beautiful patio. And the reason I took this picture and I'm sharing it with you right now is this thought goes through my mind every time I pass it of the top leadership at Dos Amigos saying, you know what, Starbucks has a great patio and the restaurant down the street has a great patio. If we put in a great patio, people will flood here and use this patio and it'll make more business. The reality is that people aren't looking to sit on a patio at a place where there's nothing to eat or drink, and they're definitely not looking to sit at a patio at a auto parts pull and save store.
Seriously, yeah.
And so what they've fallen victim to is looking at what someone else is doing and then thinking that because if they'll copy it the same way, it'll work for them. It just doesn't work that way at Dos Amigos, and it definitely does not work that way in social media. Why are we saying this? Is because even of the vehicles that we're going to present to you right now, you probably don't need to be on all of them. And you certainly don't need to be on all of them right away. And that you need to be on the ones that will most work best for you and get to where you're maximizing those, using them consistently, using them in a good way, developing and putting to work a strategy. And if that's only on one of them right now, do that one all the way. If it's on two of them, do those all the way. So most people don't need to be on 8 or 10 or 6 or even 4 or 5 social media vehicles. They need to be on the ones that make the most sense for them. And so we're not going to go into a great deal of detail for each of these vehicles. And one of the reasons is we're going to be publishing webinars for each of these that give a lot of information about each one and how to use them. And we're going to flat out give away some of our strategies to you, because some of those things that you can put to work, but we also know that some of those things we know exactly what we're doing, and we could save you literally hundreds of hours doing it for you at a cost that's probably lower than you even think. And so what I want to do is take a couple minutes, and I want to give you a few of these things that we're doing. We're seeing a few of these vehicles, and we're going to start with the big dog, which is Facebook. And Facebook has been around for a while. Facebook is far and away it's just massive. There's so many people on Facebook that it's absolutely incredible. And Facebook, of all of the ones that we're going to present to you today, Facebook is probably the most social, which means that if you're an accounting firm, you probably don't need to be on Facebook. It's probably not going to help you to be on Facebook. Not that you don't have to be at all, but you're going to find a little bit less marketing ROI than like a non-profit company that gives shoes to kids, just because it's more of a social, it's more social by nature. And so that makes for a great place for some companies and not so much for others. Not every company in the history of the world needs to be maximizing Facebook in the greatest way possible, but Facebook still has some great things. Facebook still is wonderful for mass engagement, which means that more than one person is engaging you at a time, and lots of people start hitting one thing and it blows up really big. If you can create the right kind of content, then you can really do some pretty amazing things. Like if you were a restaurant and you wanted to, you have a real fun environment, like a Dave & Buster's or Chuck E. Cheese, if I may. If you're a restaurant like that had a lot of fun, you could post a placard as people walked in and say, hey, post your pictures today to Facebook of you having a great time, and the winner gets a free pizza party the next Saturday. Yep. Well, what happened there is all of these people who came in the restaurant on a busy Saturday at Chuck E. Cheese would start taking pictures and posting them to your Facebook page. Well, guess what? All of those people's friends, it would come across their news feed that they were in Chuck E. Cheese, and then guess what they would say? Hey, honey, it's been a while since we've taken the kids down to Chuck E. Cheese. That's a great way to use Facebook. And there's also lots of other strategies that we won't get into, but just keep in mind, Facebook's social. So it works best for places that are social. Next up is Twitter. And Twitter's probably the one, maybe the one that's most confusing to people. They know that it's big. They know that a lot of people are using it. They know that it's certainly going crazy. They just don't know how to use it for marketing purposes. And we do. In fact, it's one of the biggest ones for us, bar none. And the reason is because you can actually target people using Twitter. That means you can go after targeted people who are looking for you. And it's really like the reverse, the exact opposite of Google. With Google, people are coming and searching for you. With Twitter, you can go searching for them whether they know they need your product or not based on targeted searching. Now, the actual strategy is a little bit complicated. We're going to explain it in great detail on the Twitter webinar, but just know this. If you're looking for leads, and if you're a salesman, if you're somebody who needs to sell your business, so probably a lot different than Facebook, not so social, but if you're looking to actually create conversations, talk to people so that you can introduce them to your product or your service, Twitter is an amazing way to make that happen. All right, so next up is YouTube, and YouTube is one of our absolute favorites because of the know, like, and trust thing. If you do have a website, you absolutely need to be maximizing YouTube. Because when people click on a website, they are 3 times more likely to stay on that website past 3 minutes if there's some type of video engagement going on the homepage. Now think about that for a minute. The longer they stay there, the more likely they are to call or buy or click or do whatever it is you're asking them to do. And so one of the things we love to do is help companies create webmercials, which is like a 60 or 90 second or 120 second sample of what they do. And then that know, like, and trust really kicks in. Because what happens then is they get to actually see you. They get to listen to you talk. They get to hear your customers talk about you. Remember we said that 14% and that 78%? They get to see some of your clients on camera talking about you. So using YouTube is big. Another reason YouTube is absolutely huge is that Google bought YouTube. And so when it comes to SEO, which we're going to talk about here in just a second, but when it comes to people searching for you, they're actually twice as likely to click on a video thumbnail than they are just a regular link. And it's not that hard to get those video thumbnails at the top of Google rankings. So that's another big one. Next up is LinkedIn. If you're doing business to business, you have to be doing LinkedIn. This is where you can really engage people who are experts in their field. And if you're an expert in your field, you really should be doing LinkedIn. And it has a great way of combining your Facebook, your Twitter, blogs, to where lots of information that's very specialized to an industry or specialized to what it is that you do can all funnel into one place and get in front of the eyes of the people who are making decisions. And so for us, we use LinkedIn, and we use it quite a bit, and it's a very valuable and effective strategy, and we'll get into that more later. Next up is blogging. Again, quite a bit misunderstood is what is blogging? Why should we be doing it? It seems like people are just writing information that no one else is reading. Well, in a lot of cases, that's exactly true. In blogging, one of the statements that's pretty funny is never before in history has so many people said so much about absolutely nothing. It's like it's really true that sometimes that's the way it is. But that's not all blogs. There's also called authority blogs. And this is something where if you know how to set your blog up and you blog enough about the right information and you know how to link it up to other circles of blogs in that authority, you can actually very much become an authority. This is really good for big businesses who work with other businesses. You can become authority in the subject matter of your choosing if you know how to set your blog up, know how to run it right, and know how to do it is. And our team knows exactly how to do those things and can help show you how to do it. All right, then finally is Google. And Google is certainly social. Of course, when you think about Google, you might think about the new Google Plus, which has some benefits, but let's be honest. The big part about Google is searching, and that's just the way it is. And whether it's Google Places, whether it's Google Plus, or whether it's just straight out Google optimized natural searches, Google is king of search 100%. I mean, you have to be there and you have to show up on your keywords. And so one of the things that we help show you how to do and we help do for you is, number one, find out what your top performing keywords are. We have some great tools that help you discover. And a lot of people think they know how people are searching for them, but that's not always the case. And so what we do is we help you discover those keywords that you should be going after. We help get your website optimized so that it can be searched and you can start ranking on your keywords. And then we can show you how to get some of your best performing keywords right at the top of Google so that you flat out get more clicks, and all of it, we show you the numbers as we go. So there you go, Todd, the 6 social media giants that we want to talk about.
Yeah, those are great. But Travis, I can't believe that you're missing the big one. You say 6, and there's arguably way more, but 7 for sure.
7?
Oh, they're absolutely. And hey, I'm just noticing here. Thanks for hanging on so long through this webinar. I see a few new arrivers, and since you've joined us a little late, we'd certainly like to get this information to you. So request that, and we'll potentially be able to get you a replay or something. But for those of you who are hanging on, it's probably worth your time and money for this next one right here. We have not talked about this too much, but we're going to nail it right now, and that is mobile. What is mobile? Well, there's arguably it is the #1 vehicle.
It really is.
There's 2 things within this mobile marketing. One is the quick response code, and you've probably heard it referred to as the QR code. Well, sample it right now. On your screen, if you take out your iPhone or Android, you can simply go to a QR reader and scan the code. And when you scan the code, it can take you just about anywhere you want it to go. We can help with those, but they're fairly easy to use. The larger one is the short text code. And another sample, you can do this right now, and we'll even pause for a second for you to do this. Just pull out your cell phone and text 90210 to 90210 dbrand. So type in 90210 and just simply type in dbrand, which stands for D Brand Makeover. You'll instantly get a response from us, and isn't that a more instant, accessible? You're going to get a response right then. If someone texts you, no matter what you're doing, I mean, short of...
Oh, you could be in a confessional with your priest.
Yeah, or in the bathroom.
I mean, that's exactly right. I mean, it is shocking. In fact, we know now that 97% of texts get read within an hour. I mean, that is shocking. That's shocking numbers, Todd.
Yeah. So email marketing, some of those things have their place, but you know what? A text, you're gonna answer that.
Well, and the QR code is also very valuable, and we can show retail businesses how to use these two. And those are huge for retail. I mean, they're huge in a lot of ways. I mean, if you're a school, if you're a church, I mean, you absolutely positively have to be getting into mobile marketing.
And really for as little as $99 a month. And with this webinar special, you can even waive some of the setup costs. We can really help you get started. It's kind of like the video on your website. You just do not want to go without this. So ask us how, we'll be happy to tell you. But we want to tell you those 7 tools. Travis walked you through the first 6. But this mobile one is something you just can't sit on the sidelines for too much longer, because your competition, I can guarantee you, they're using it.
That's right.
So let's go on to the top 5 online mistakes most small businesses are making. They're placing too little emphasis and resources to online branding. It's just true, isn't it? People aren't spending the money here. They're not having a real strategic social media marketing plan. And these, again, are the top 5 mistakes that small businesses are making. And I would assume that since you're on here, you're a small business, and this could relate to you. And we want to quickly help you turn that tide for that. Number 3 is having someone unqualified manage your online presence. How many times, Travis, have we heard, well, my niece is taking care of that? Mm-hmm. Well, that's good and probably sufficient for a short-term time, but long-term, you got to have a much better, solid strategic plan. Number 4 is not knowing what to do yourself and what to hire out. I mean, it's obvious that this takes time, a lot of time to keep up and do what you need to get done on social media. Well, it all comes down to time and money then, really.
That's right.
You either have the time or you have the money, and most people don't have both. Time is a tough commodity these days. And number 5 is failure to seek out expert feedback and training. And we've got that feedback for you and that training for you. You'll see many of our webinars. We love to be able to help you and get you the most impact on the return on investment as quickly as possible.
Yeah. I want to take a moment and just give you a quick case study. I know that we're about to wrap up and our time is running out, but we want to give you a little bit of a case study with a nonprofit organization called Mission Barnabas, and they do fantastic work in Africa, just bringing an amazing amount of help and aid to that area. We started by doing a total redesign of their web. We're not in the web design business. Let's say that right up front. But we do have a great team of web designers. And while we don't technically do the web design ourselves, we do know what a great website is. And we consult with you to either help make changes to yours, or honestly, most of the time an overhaul is cheaper than to try to copy code and get it to our guys and do a patch job, and especially because they do phenomenal work. And so whether that's logo design, all the code, and they can do everything from online sales to video, you name it, they can put it in there. So the next thing we did is we created a YouTube channel for Mission Barnabas, because they really needed to get out their message to the world, and not just in text. I mean, text is pretty rough right now, and honestly, you got to be in video. And so that actually helped us whenever we created the YouTube channel for them. Not only did it get views and spread their message to their supporters, but it helped us get a whole new world of supporters because video ranks so high in Google. So then we created a blog, and we've actually are getting authority as a blog for nonprofit mission work to Africa, and so we're beginning to become an authority in the blogging community in that regard. Now, why is that so important? Well, it's because anytime anyone's looking for information regarding to this, Mission Barnabas is the one who's starting to get toward the top of that list. So then, of course, we create a Facebook page, and we're happy to say that the results from that Facebook page has been absolutely overwhelming in terms of fundraising through Facebook, and that's been fantastic. Twitter, we created a Twitter page for them just last year, and already it looks like there's a team of people coming to help serve them in Africa from a connection made on Twitter. I mean, just think about that for a minute. And then we helped them actually set up a donation engine that really drove some things. So I want to take that whole thing, and again, they weren't on all of the ones that we mentioned, but they were on several, and we set up all of that for them. We managed everything start to finish, and then we also spent hours consulting with them on how to use it on the back end, of which things that we would do, which things that they would do. And I want to give you a little bit of the ROI just in 6 months. So there's a couple of different terms, and we've already gone over them, but first I want to talk about the qualitative ROI. In other words, what's going on in terms of the quality that we're getting. 1,700 blog reads, that means 1,700 readers got exposed to what they're doing. Todd, that's quality. I mean, that's pretty awesome. 750 YouTube videos. I went and checked it out the other day. It's well over 1,000 now. So I mean, it's really moving up even faster than the stats we could put on our presentation. 400 plus Facebook and Twitter fans. I don't even want to tell you what that number's up to. Their Twitter posting alone just the other day was over 1,000 fans on Twitter. Again, the numbers aren't even following. I don't even have time to update the presentation. 8,000 Facebook. That's all just quality. That means that they're engaging and having contact with both their supporters, their current clients, if you will, but also new ones. Then let's talk about quantitative. So what does that mean? The actual hard numbers of the ROI. So let's look at the first one, 157% increase in web visits. Now, let me just say, when you see the infomercials, results aren't normal. Sometimes, we just have to say wow to some of the results we get, because really we would be happy with a 30 or 40% increase. For these guys, it was a 150% increase. And let me just say, this was not a bad performing website whenever Mission Barnabas came to us. They were getting hits and they were getting some love.
That's right.
But 157% increase.
That's great.
The CEO of the company said, wow. And it was pretty awesome. And then, of course, this is a big one. Their donations in their first 6 months, it equaled 3 times what they paid us to do the entire thing. And if that doesn't speak volumes, then I don't know what does. It's just they paid us, a reasonable amount to create all this for them, and then they got 3 times back in donations in the first 6 months. And so we don't promise that it'll give you 3 times back what you invest, but wow, what if it did?
Yeah.
What if it did?
That's great. That's a great case study, and we've got other samples to show you about, just for confidentiality purposes, and we can't put a lot of them in these webinars, but we'd love to be able to show you what other clients have gained from our services. So there's 3 things basically we do at dBrand, and so how can we help you? Well, the first is the training that you're going through right now. We'll produce many, many, many webinars. This is by far the longest one, isn't it, Travis?
Yeah, that's the longest one for sure.
It's all the other ones in the future, and ones we already have posted are 15, 20, 25 minutes. They go deeper into how to use Twitter, how to use Facebook, get you real answers so you can take that information right from your laptop and your computer right now and put those practices into use. So training is a great thing that we do. We also do live seminars. We travel to many different states, and if you can ever take advantage of one of those, it would be wonderful. One-on-one group training in your city, your state. The second thing is consulting. We again are going to offer a free hour consulting with this webinar special, so take advantage of that for sure. But that can help you decide whether you should be doing this yourself or you need to pay to get it done. In that consultation time, you'll know whether your time or your money is worth what you need to do, and help you make that decision to go forward. The third, of course, is management. And that is really taking it, you're online now, what do you do? Well, you got to keep it active. And again, it comes down to time and money. So we can help you decide if it's something you can do in-house, or we can help manage it from
Todd and I, we're small business owners, and we have a passion for small business. We want to see people succeed. And we pride ourselves in our integrity and in the way we handle all of our clientele. And there's just clientele that will say, you know what, you need to be doing this way, or you're not in a position to hire us, right. or you just need to get through some training, or you know what, we need to step in and do it for you. It's not worth your time. And we really help you to slice up the pie to say, this is not worth doing. This you can be trained on and learn how to do yourself with our consulting, and this we just need to take it and do it for you so it's done the right way.
So what are the webinar specials that I mentioned earlier? Well, let's just go through them real quickly. There's a couple here. There's a free 1-hour consultation. Now that's a $199 value. Email us now. Send us a quick message. If you haven't followed us on Twitter, do that. Get to us somehow, some way. Mention the webinar special.
Yeah, in fact, I think, Todd, we're going to pull up a little button on the webinar itself.
That's perfect. Yeah.
We'll see if we can get that up here in a minute, but make sure that's coming up so that we can actually get you hooked right into us. And just mention that you saw the webinar and you'd like to have a free 1-hour consultation. I tell you, those 1-hour consultations are eye openers for our clients.
Yep. That's great. The second webinar special we're offering is the free setup with any mobile marketing plan. We mentioned that as the 7th vehicle. That is a $299 value. We're going to set it up for you for free. Your marketing plan to move forward, and what a no-brainer that is.
Well, and not that, but the plans start literally at $99 a month with no commitment.
Yeah.
And it's just super valuable. I mean, if you're anybody that needs repeat business, or your business thrives on repeat business, or you have to get information to people. So if you're a restaurant, if you're a hotel, if you're a church, if you're a school, you have to talk to us about that.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So there you go. Those are our web specials. Hey, I'm so proud of you for taking the time to spend on this this webinar. Constantly, Travis, you've been watching the on and off people joining the webinar. There's been about 40 or 50 people hanging on there, hanging with us all the way to the end.
Yeah, that
says
really
something.
Awesome. Thank you so much for spending the time, and we really believe that it's worth your time. And we want to talk to you. We want to get to know you. So email us, call us, let us know what you thought about it. Let us know how we can improve it. Let us know what you'd like to learn more about. And keep an eye out for all the different seminars going for each of the individual vehicles. And we're going to try to get you the best information with proven strategies so you can follow them up. So for Todd, this is Travis signing out, saying thanks again for the webinar, and we'll see you soon.